Welcome to Bunk Analysis. In this episode of Coast to Coast we hear from two different guests. The first guest is Jesse Ventura, who mainly goes into a lot of detail about a lawsuit. Not much to see here. However, Jesse does mention towards the end of the segment that if the US stopped spending money on wars, we would have more to spare for healthcare and infrastructure. I understand where he is coming from, but I think that reality is probably more complicated than just closing bases and improving our country. We are very dependent on foreign oil and exported goods, and unfortunately the use or threat of force probably keeps the stuff flowing our way. Moving along, we hear from conspiracy researcher Ola Phillips in the second segment. Ola talks about how conspiracy theorists believed in a British TV show from the 1970s in which the government was starting the Mars colony to escape runaway climate change. I think it is a plausible theory despite large fluctuations in whether that our overall global temperature is increasing. However, I disagree with Phillips that there is compelling evidence that humans made it to Mars. Structures that look man-made cannot count as evidence for man on Mars, given that we can't even breathe the air on the planet. And if we could, we would probably freeze to death. If such a structure was built on Mars large enough to be seen from space, we would need a whole civilization on the planet. Think about it. It took a lot of people to build the pyramids in Egypt. And these people were just the tip of the iceberg, because you need a large amount of people growing food and raising children and doing all of the other things to keep the civilization going. This would mean that the environment on Mars was favorable for human habitation, which we know is not the case. Never mind the fact that it takes a long time and planning and risk just to get there from Earth. Ola mentions that a computer hacker named Garrett McKinnon found evidence for a secret space program on government computers. I can't really say this counts as evidence, given we have lots of satellites already in space and we sent a craft to Mars as well. Governments, especially the United States, do lots of things in secret, so that's no surprise to find the classified document on a government computer. Ola also mentions towards the end of the program that he is conducting research on kinetic energy weapons in ancient India. The kinetic energy weapon is mainly a science fiction topic, and it is the idea that a weapon can imitate the effect of a meteorite if it impacts the planetary surface at a really fast speed. To contend that an ancient civilization would have the capability to do such things is a bad way to conduct research. The kinetic energy weapon is going to need a large amount of energy to design, build, and deploy. The energy has got to come from somewhere. Show me some oil rigs from ancient India and maybe your research might start looking more compelling, Mr. Phillips. Thanks for listening.